Here, we'll explore the relationship between anxiety and uncertainty and why uncertainty sits at the center of anxious patterns in everyday life. In the previous two episodes, we looked at anxiety as a system and then at how that system shapes behavior. What links all of these patterns together is uncertainty. Anxiety does not arise simply because something bad might happen. It arises because the outcome is unknown and matters. Uncertainty is unavoidable in ordinary life. Decisions rarely come with guarantees. Relationships involve risk. Work, health, and future plans all carry elements that cannot be fully controlled. Anxiety develops as a way of trying to manage that lack of certainty. One way to notice this is to pay attention to what anxiety is asking for. It is rarely asking for success or happiness. More often, it is asking for reassurance, clarity, or predictability. It wants to know what will happen and how to prevent unwanted outcomes. When certainty is unavailable, anxiety stays active. This helps explain why anxious thinking often sounds like planning. Thoughts move ahead of the present moment, imagining scenarios and preparing responses. The intention is sensible. Preparation feels safer than waiting. But when preparation becomes constant, it keeps attention locked on what has not happened yet. How often do you notice your mind working on future possibilities rather than current experience? Another everyday example is how people respond to waiting. Waiting for messages, results, decisions, or responses often brings anxiety to the surface. The waiting itself is not the issue, it is the absence of information. Do you notice how quickly your mind fills that gap with imagined explanations? Anxiety also struggles with mixed information. When outcomes are partly positive and partly unclear, anxiety focuses on what is unresolved. Even when things are mostly going well, the uncertain element can dominate the attention. This is why reassurance often has a short lifespan. It reduces uncertainty briefly, but the underlying question remains. People respond to uncertainty in different ways. Some try to eliminate it by seeking answers, confirmation, or guarantees. Others try to reduce exposure by narrowing choices or avoiding situations that feel unpredictable. Both responses aim to create a sense of safety. Which approach feels more familiar to you when outcomes feel unclear? It is important to recognize that uncertainty itself is not dangerous. It is a condition of being human. Anxiety treats uncertainty as a threat because it is designed to prevent harm. When uncertainty is interpreted as risk, the system remains on high alert. This is why anxiety often intensifies around change. Even positive change brings unfamiliarity. New roles, new environments, and new relationships all involve not knowing how things will unfold. Anxiety is not responding to danger here, but to the absence of certainty. Another way to see this is to notice how anxiety reacts to control. When people feel able to influence outcomes, anxiety often settles. When control is limited or shared with others, anxiety increases. This can show up in relationships where outcomes depend on another person's response. How comfortable are you with not knowing how someone else will respond? Understanding anxiety through the lens of uncertainty shifts the focus. The issue is not that anxious people think too much or worry unnecessarily. It is that their system is organized around avoiding the discomfort of not knowing. Anxiety promises relief if certainty can be achieved, even though certainty is rarely possible. Over time, this can lead to a narrowing of experience. Life becomes organized around what feels predictable. Opportunities that involve risk may be postponed. Conversations that feel uncertain may be delayed. The aim is safety, but the cost is flexibility. This does not mean uncertainty must be embraced enthusiastically. It means recognizing that some level of uncertainty is unavoidable. Anxiety loosens its grip not when uncertainty disappears, but when it is no longer treated as an emergency. When people begin to notice this, their relationship with anxiety often changes. Instead of trying to eliminate anxious thoughts or behaviors, they become curious about what uncertainty is being signaled. This shift creates space for choice rather than reaction. Anxiety does not need certainty to settle, it needs a different relationship with uncertainty. Understanding this provides a more accurate and compassionate framework for recognizing anxious patterns as they arise. In the next episode, we'll move on from anxiety and begin a new 3-part series by exploring what attachment actually is and how it shapes everyday relationships in ways people often recognize immediately. That's the scope of this episode. Each episode focuses on one specific element, and this was it. We'll leave it there for now and move on in the next episode.